Today we're looking at something that might not be glamorous, but it will 100% help you improve your barbecue skills. Hi everyone, James Mackay here from Barbechoo.com and welcome back to another episode of BBQ Know. So what is this non-glamorous thing that will help improve these barbecue skills? Well, you probably already know from the video title, but it is keeping notes on all your cooks. It's something that not everybody does, but as a beginner, learning those different techniques for barbecuing, both on how your recipe goes plus how your barbecue set up, notes are the one thing that will help you look back over that and learn from any mistakes you've made. So you might be asking why you should go to the hassle of keeping notes on every cook you do, but in those early stages, those notes can become an essential reference point to look back on as you move forward. So when you're learning something new, you will inevitably make mistakes. So your notes allow you to make notes on what worked and what didn't work, and then you can go back at a future date and look at how you would change things up if you ever do that similar cook again. So before we do a quick rundown of what you should be taking notes on, let's have a look at how you can take those notes or the best way to organise them. Okay, the first one is probably a good old-fashioned notebook and pen. I always have this open whenever I'm cooking. They're a little hard to organise, and sometimes if I was to pass you this book you probably wouldn't understand the notes that are in it because they're just quick scribbles, but if I flick down through them I can understand what has happened. So it's not the most organised way, but it is definitely a reference point that you can go back to. So the second way, and one that all of us have, is on your phone. So there's a range of different notes apps. I personally use Google Keep, because you can add hashtags into the notes and that will automatically categorize them for you. So if I want to go back through and look at beef cooks or pork cooks, I can search for those hashtags within the notes app and it'll bring me up all the cooks that I've done in the past. If you want to go to a little more effort, then you can use something like Google Docs and just create a new document for each cook and add all your images or notes into that one file. Again, it's quite easily to search down through and tag different things to organise them into categories, making them easier to find in the future. And if you want to take your note taking to the next level, you could do what Nathan over at Kung Fu Barbecue has done, and that is put your notes out there for the entire world to see. So Nathan started his website back in 2013, I think. Nathan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But the main reason for him starting his website was just to have somewhere to catalogue all his notes of all his different cooks, but it meant other people can then jump in, have a look at the cooks he's done and read the notes on it. The great thing is Nathan adds in things that went wrong and went well. There's not too many people that will put something, if something goes badly wrong during a cook, they don't tend to add it into the write-up for it. So Nathan is honest in what worked and what didn't work, both in recipe and the actual cooking techniques. He will then go back, if he cooks a recipe again, he will go back and update his notes. So again, this is something you should be doing with your own notes. If you cook a recipe for the first time and you decide to do it again, you can go back, look at the notes, see what didn't work, try something different, and then update the notes to say how you got on. So if you haven't done so already, go and visit Nathan's website. It's kungfubarbecue.co.uk. I'll leave a link in the description for it, but you should definitely check it out. There's some amazing cooks over there and a great reference for anybody that's wanting to get into barbecue. So what should you be keeping notes on? Your notes can be as detailed or as simple as you want them to be. It's up to you how much information you put in there, but there are a few key things that I think will help at a future point. They might seem irrelevant now, but whenever you look back over your cooks, that information becomes really handy. So the first thing is what recipe you're cooking. So if you're cooking from a book, put in the name of the book and the page number that the recipe's on. That'll save you flicking for days trying to find it again. Similarly, if you are cooking from a recipe from a website, put the name of the website on, and then in your browser have somewhere where you bookmark all your recipes. So it can be quite difficult to search through a website and find that specific recipe again. So if you have the direct link bookmarked, your notes tell you what website it was on. You can go into that bookmarks folder and find it easily. Next, you want to make a few notes on your grill setup. So that could be what barbecue you're using, if it's gas, charcoal, kettle, go anywhere portable. Make a note on what barbecue it is, what your fuel choice was, so lump wood or briquettes, how much fuel you added. So if you're using a chimney starter, you can count briquettes if you want, but for me, a third, 2/3 full is more than enough detail to get into. The other thing that's key to make a note on at this point is what your target temperature was, and then now that you know how much fuel you've added and you tip that out into the barbecue, you can say what your actual temperature was. So this is really good to look back on. If you were aiming for a temperature of 180 and you added a full chimney starter of briquettes and your temperature was sitting at 240, well then you know that you need to add less next time. So that's where these notes really come in handy. Eventually you'll get to the point where you don't need those notes. Hitting those target temperatures will become a lot easier, but at the start, knowing if you want 180 degrees, that 2/3 of a chimney starter of briquettes is going to give you, your notes will help you sort of narrow that down and get into the right ballpark each time. So the next thing you might want to add then are prep notes. So in your recipe there's a certain amount of preparation work needs done. So if that involves trimming up the meat, if it involves creating marinades, sauces, etc., make a quick note on how long that took. If your meat then needs to be added to a brine for a certain length of time, keep those timings noted in your notebook or on your phone, because at the end of the cook, whenever you decide what the flavours are like, maybe you don't think that brine really came through or added into the meat, so maybe it needed to be added to it for a little bit longer for it to really work. So again, this is just something you can look back, decide what you would do differently and change it for the next time. So the same rules apply to marinades and rubs. Maybe added too much rub, maybe you didn't add enough. So those notes will help you adjust those things as you move forward. So once all your prep work's done, the last thing to do is get on with the cook. The way I keep my notes throughout a cook are quite simple, but they do work whenever they're all stitched together. So I will do something like pork shoulder onto the barbecue at 8 AM, grill temp 125 degrees centigrade. That might seem like pretty basic information, but whenever you add to those notes throughout each stage of the cook, you start to see trends in how your grill temperature held steady, or if it didn't hold steady, how the meat was cooking and how long it took to finish the entire cook. So for something like a pork shoulder, you might say wrapped at 1 PM, grill temp 120 degrees Celsius, internal temp 65 degrees Celsius. So just noting those 4 basic little bits of information, but they will all tie together in the end to give you some detailed notes. And the final thing you need to make notes on is to review how the cook went. What were your opinions on the recipe? What worked or what might you change next time? How did the grill setup work? Was it the right cooking technique? Or maybe you need to change something up where your temperature's okay. Go through and make those little notes and suggest changes to yourself, so whenever you look back on it, you know those are the things you want to try differently. So that could be something as simple as barbecue ran hot the entire cook, add less fuel next time, or skin didn't crisp up in the chicken as I would like, finish over a direct heat. You know, those are little notes that will help you then in the future perfect the recipe and therefore make better food. So if you're a beginner and you aren't taking notes, you really should be. At the start, try and add in as much detail as possible. As you become more comfortable with your grill setups and different cooking techniques, the notes might not need to be so detailed, but it still helps to make suggestions to yourself on what you would try differently next time. So while you're down in the description checking out Nathan's website, you'll also see a link for a free barbecue notes checklist. This is a link through to my website. If you sign up to the mailing list, you'll get this free checklist that will help you take notes if you're not used to taking them already. It's just a list of things, different bits of information that you might want to consider adding into your notes throughout the cook. So you might find it useful. So click on that link, head over, join up to the mailing list. I send updates out to my mailing list about the sites probably once a week, so it's a good thing to be on. But check that downloadable checklist out, you'll definitely find it useful. So that's it for this week's episode. It's definitely a shorter one than the past few have been, but it's still packed full of good information. Again, any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you. hit the subscribe button, and if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.